It is another week of the marketplace. Here's what's coming up in the next 30 minutes. Finance Minister responds to the Fix the Country protest, outlining some 5 interventions being fast-tracked, including the implementation of the $200 million Jobs and Skills Program to enhance job creation significantly.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the coming days, we will move swiftly to address some of the issues that the hashtag Fix the Economy have raised. First, I'm working with the Minister for Water and Sanitation to immediately ensure potable water to areas of critical need.
We engage his predecessor, former Finance Minister SETH TERKPER, on this matter. Also, deliberations on new national daily minimum wage report could commence in the coming days. We expect the technical group of tripartite committee to present its report this week. We'll have the latest.
As we mentioned, we've gone through a good period of a good relationship with them.
Plus, Ghana's industrial sector contracts by 3.6% during the pandemic year, experiencing its poorest performance in 6 solid years. We'll engage an economist on this development. Hello once again, you're welcome to the program. We have all these stories and more coming up shortly after this break this day. Hello and welcome. The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has assured the Fix the Country conveners of the government's commitment to doing its best to make Ghanaians comfortable by providing them with life's necessities. Speaking at a press briefing that rebuilding Ghana's economy, he said the Akufo-Addo-led administration is on course to fast-track policies to improve the livelihoods of citizens. Here are 5 things the Finance Minister hinted of working on, of which we shall pull up to your screens. The first one being that they are working with the Minister of Water and Sanitation to immediately ensure potable water to areas with felt need, especially in the most urban areas. Also, they're working with the Ministers of Roads and Highways as well as the Transport and Interior to address congestion along the major highways. Plus, fast-tracking the implementation of the $200 million Jobs and Skills Program to enhance job creation significantly. Also, they are rolling out over 8 additional interventions under the Ghana Cares Program, and these will be in the health, agri, tourism, trade, digitization, science and tech areas, as well as housing and finance. Also, the 5th one being that they're going to have a new development bank that will provide long-term wholesale financing to the private sector through the commercial banks. Of course, the protesters say they are not convinced by these solutions, but let's first hear from the Finance Minister making these suggestions and policies known to these aggrieved protesters.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the coming days, we will move swiftly to address some of the issues that the hashtag Fix the Economy have raised. First, I'm working with the Minister for Water and Sanitation to immediately ensure potable water to areas of critical need. Second, I'm working with the Ministers of Roads and Highways and Transport and Interior to address congestion along the major highways. Third, we are fast-tracking the implementation of the $200 million Jobs and Skills Program and Economic Transformation Program to enhance job creation significantly. This intervention is designed to facilitate new and expanded private sector businesses to employ more people. This, we believe, is a more sustainable way to rebuild this economy instead of expanding government employment schemes. Fourth, starting this month, we are rolling out over 8 additional interventions under the Ghana Cares Obatampa program. These will be in the health, agriculture, tourism, trade, digitization, science and technology, housing and financial services. Fifth, by the end of July, we'll have a new development bank capitalized at over $500 million that will provide long-term wholesale financing, not retail as happened in the past, to the private sector through commercial banks and non-bank financial institutions such as venture capital companies for SMEs to ensure financing to support the youth. The good people of Ghana have given us a mandate to get things done. For us as a government, this is a clarion call for a national conversation on the shared burden to renew the social contract of our democracy. At its minimum, we should ensure social justice and social mobility for all Ghanaians. At our best, we should open for all Ghanaians an economic system under which each citizen shall be guaranteed the opportunity to show the best in him or her. As I always have said, I will commit to working to fix those structures that will set Ghana on this path to a righteous economy that ensures open access and property ownership for all. Ladies and gentlemen, before I end, permit me to take this opportunity to wish our mothers, wives, sisters a happy Mother's Day. Out of their daily toils, we can face each other to fix our challenges in building this nation. God bless our mothers abundantly.
And that was the finance minister there addressing the media regarding the Fix the Country campaign. Joining us via phone is former finance minister SETH TERKPER to put it all into perspective and share his ideal thoughts on the matters ongoing. We're so grateful, Mr. TERKPER, that you joined us. What do you make of this Fix the Country campaign, which is rooted, you know, in economic hardships?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, it is a right of citizens, you know, to express themselves in ways in which they feel, you know, appropriate, including protest. It's not new. We have been through Kumipeko, we've been through Let the Blood Flow, we've been through, you know, locking the country down. We've been through, you know, various ones in the recent past. But I think that what I'd like to address is, you know, the measures. The measures, you know, seem to be ad hoc. Why do I say so? We know the problem. Let me not belabor it. We've been discussing it. We have a revenue that has plateaued. It hasn't risen beyond 13%. You know, in the last 4 years, the last indication was 3.5%. In 2015, we have revenue that has stagnated at 15%. So our tax revenue itself is not even up to the sub-Saharan African 17.5% average, let alone the 20%, you know, which the minister, you know, mentioned. If you look at the 2022 to 2025, you know, it is the same figure. Don't look at nominal, just look at it in terms of GDP, because an economy with 3 oil fields is not the same as an economy with 1 oil field, and it's not the same as an economy with no oil field. You know, there were comparisons with all the way from 60s in Nkrumah, you know, through to, you know, the military era. There wasn't much of that, you know, to Rawlings, to Mills and others, yes. But the economies differ, you know, and what opportunities do we have now? Do we have better opportunities, and then do we expect more? So with 3 oil fields, we do expect far more, you know, to be done. Now, expenditure also. We know it, that 2 items only, compensation and interest payments, you know, have swallowed the entire tax revenue. And when you take gross revenue, you know, which includes the tax revenue, it's over 90%, those 2 items. But remember, we are talking about gross.
Great.
Which means that we haven't taken account of the earmark funds, GET fund, you know, DACF, NHI, IGF, and the rest. So what it means is that once you have taken it, we know that that's around 30% or so of tax revenue. So by the time you take that out, frankly, it means that, you know, those 2 items have swallowed total revenue. So if you even talk about the initiatives, the 5 that were rolled out, well, some of them may be coming from the bond that was just made, you know, the bond that was just issued, for which you have received the revenue. So that is, you know, some, you know, comfort. But frankly, that is a one-time, you know, and that is the annual borrowing, the most important annual borrowing. So after we have spent it, you know, on these items and others, what is there? You know, we know that the high deficit, the high borrowing, the high debt, right? We have to do some non-conventional, you know, borrowing, like, you know, the zero coupon bond, which is merely transferring, you know, the repayment of the face value of 500 million, you know, plus to the next government in 2025.
Let me hold up your thoughts there, Mr. TERKPER, because from your standpoint, you've already stated that this happens to be an ad hoc measure. But how feasible are these assurances on the back of the debt stock as at the end of December, standing at a nominal figure of 291, million Ghana cedis, representing about $1 billion, representing about 76% of GDP compared to 62% of GDP in 2019. You're going through these figures, you see how disturbing they are. How feasible do these assurances fit within the current state of our fiscal standing?
Well, it is troublesome. The minister himself in the presentation, if you recall, the minister himself sorry, can you hear me, please?
Yeah, you're loud and clear.
Yeah, sorry, okay. The minister himself in the presentation said that even the ECOWAS, criteria, which I doubt is 70% anyway, that we shouldn't be measuring that if that is the 70%. We are supposed to be a B-plus country. We are supposed to be a middle-income country. And the viability for the market to stop the downgrade should be between 55-60%, at most 65%. But even if you take the ECOWAS, level of 70%, we are at 80%, right? Close to 80%. Well, I have seen figures where they say it's down because GDP is going to go up. Yes, but that is NDA GDP, which will be fixed, right? But you will be adding. And so we are likely to cross 80% in the absence of revenue.
So when you're benching...
So that itself, it's no comfort.
So when you're benching... When you're benching the assurances that the finance minister gave on Sunday to these conveners of the Fix the Country campaign to the current situation at hand, is it feasible?
Well, that's what I'm leading to. I don't think, one, they are not the only problems facing the economy, so we need more. Two, where is the program to achieve it? Where is the program, to address the issues I'm talking about? Where is the program to enable GRA, raise the revenue, from a low 13% to 17% and then to 20% in 4 years. Where is the program that will show that we are not going to be borrowing to pay part of interest and compensation? And then the entire recurrent budget, balance of the recurrent budget, that is goods and services, the entire capital budget, and the entire amortization, which is repayment of loans, is all coming from loans.
Great.
So, yeah, the minister is not the only one who has come to this situation.
All right.
I don't want to pretend that, other ministers have not.
All right. But
what we have done in the past, if you take single spine and the rest and all those, yes, we did attempt a homegrown policy. He said we had done 17, IMF programs. Fine. What is the gist of those programs? And how can we turn it into a homegrown policy with specific, our internal conditionalities, if you like, to say that I am going to reduce the deficit, which, by the way, is not 11%, it's 13% plus bailout. I'm going to reduce it, by 5 percentage points every year. All right. So that by the third year, I said I will be at the 5%.
Mr. TERKPER,
Where is the one that says that I'm going to bring down debt? Those are the specific details which we do not have. Which we need in either our own homegrown policy or, in the absence, of doing an IMF program.
Mr. TERKPER, we're so grateful for your submissions here regarding the various interventions that the finance minister outlined, including some 200 million Ghana cedi intervention to boost or fast-track the provision of jobs. In a related development, deliberations on the new national daily minimum wage report could commence in the coming days. Now, this is because the technical grouping of the National Tripartite Committee is expected to present its report after weeks of engagement. Finance Minister Kenneth disclosed this when he addressed the media on some developments in the economy.
It's very difficult to talk about the tripartite negotiations when we're in the middle of negotiations. But as we mentioned, we've gone through a good period of a good relationship with them. So the technical committees are now, meeting, and they'll be presenting their report this week, and so we will know how to move forward. I mean, we, for the first time in our history, have a social partnership with labor and employers that has never happened before, that we meet quarterly, make sure that we understand their needs, put them in the budget, and then also understanding that the faith-based organizations are in more places than even the government can be.
The figures published by the Ghana Statistical Service show that the second largest contributor to the economy, which is industry, recorded a 3.6% contraction in the pandemic year. Now, that's a sharp nosedive from the 6.4% growth recorded the previous year and the worst performance ever since the GDP figures were rebased in 2014. While both the agric and services sectors were able to post growth in 2020, the industrial base of the economy couldn't withstand the storm, hence experiencing its poorest performance in 6 years. Economist Professor Peter Quarter joins us with some analysis on this disturbing development. We're so grateful that you joined us, Professor. On the back of the 3.6 contraction that the industry experienced during the pandemic year, what can be done in revamping industry and its performance?
Well, good afternoon to your discerning viewers. Industry of the private sector thrives on an enabling environment. The cost of doing business should be considerably low to enable industry to flourish. So to pull this sector, I think when the other sectors are growing, because of forward and backward linkages, certainly they will pull industry along. And we've seen industry rebounding. If you look at the manufacturing sector, there was a negative growth and now it's picking up. It is mining and firing where we have a big problem, especially oil and gas, because global demand for oil hasn't increased significantly. It went down significantly, but hasn't picked up considerably. So prices of oil hasn't picked up significantly as expected. So that's one area where we ought to look at. But then, as I mentioned, once we diversify our economy, we have other sectors growing. Certainly, it will pull industry up. We can also talk about government infrastructure, also construction. When government is not able to spend in terms of roads and other infrastructure for development financing, that is where we find the construction sector also going down. And I believe, as is being said, that 2021 is also a year of roads. We'll see more happening within the sector, with government finding the money to invest in infrastructure. So we see industry picking up. So this for me are the critical areas. And of course, there has to be demand. We need to stimulate demand, aggregate demand. If people have incomes in their pockets, that's when they will spend and economic activity will increase. And when that happens, industry will certainly pick up. So in my view, cost of doing business is critical. Having a stable supply of utilities as well as affordable prices will stimulate industrial activity, as well as government itself being able to invest or spend on its development activities.
Great, but even as you suggest these instruments, in terms of job creation, what should be the policy direction to help industry create more jobs? And of course, ensure that it becomes an inclusive growth, because recently we have on our plate the Fix the Country campaign. It all boils down to the trickle-down effects of a boisterous economy. How do you balance the issue regarding job creation and industry growth?
Yes, job creation is very critical. I mean, there are a lot of youth that are unemployed, and COVID has made it worse. We've seen the Fix the Country group, advocates and the rest. We are not in this alone. I think for me, in as much as we are all feeling the pinch, we should also be circumspect in some of the things we expect, because we are not in this alone. The pandemic, I don't recall when we last had such a major shock to the economy. So sometimes when I hear some of these comments, yes, I sympathize with those asking for change, and government should speed up some of the things it has outlined in the budget so that people's pains or suffering will be minimized. But one area will be lower cost of doing business. Interest rates if interest rates do come down, certainly investors would be able to borrow at reasonable cost and be able to invest and stimulate jobs. Same with exchange rate. So far, we've experienced stable exchange rate, but if exchange rate starts depreciating rapidly, then we would have challenges with industry because businesses plan to import raw material and many other things. So we need a stable exchange rate. As I mentioned, to stimulate jobs, it's not just industry. There should be growth in the other sectors. Once they grow and pull out the industry along, we are likely to see more jobs and of course incomes. With petrol prices being increased and many other things, you would find that people's real incomes or real salaries or real incomes have gone down. What do we do to cushion them so that the cost of, if there's any cost of living allowances or adjustment, that could be done. And when that is done, they have money in their pockets and that they will spend to buy goods and services manufactured by the industry and other sector players. And that will still again stimulate jobs. In some derivation, you find incentives, other incentives given to those who employ most. So there are targeted approach in terms of finding people or industry players who employ the most.
Sure.
And then some tax incentives are directed at them, some specific tax incentives. Perhaps that would be one way of dealing with the job problem. And GRA may look at some of these options available in other countries where there's a tax relief if you employ so many people in a given period. I think this are my views on job creation.
And we're so grateful that you joined us with them. Professor Peter Cortis, an economist, helping us understand the implications and prospects, even as industry contracts by some 3.6%. You're still watching the marketplace. The Bank of Ghana has assured that the CEDI will remain fairly stable despite recent pressures. The Ghanaian currency witnessed some fluctuations over the past few weeks, pushing it to 7 cedis, 78 pesos to the dollar. Now, this has raised concerns about the CEDI, which is entering a period of depreciation, usually associated with the first quarter. But Director of Research at the Central Bank, Philip Abredu-Otu, says there is no cause for alarm.
The thing about the exchange rate is that so many factors affect the exchange rate. And I think for us, Ghana, we have also evolved in this area. And lately, we have investor sentiments as one of the factors that explains the movement in our exchange rate. So the way investors behave, the way they react to economic news, the decisions they make regarding the resources that they have here can all impact the exchange rate. I haven't checked the numbers lately, but if you say it's moved from 5.4 to 5.7, yes. The question for us at the central bank is
5.73 to 5.77.
5.73 to 5.77. Well, the question is, are these within our tolerable limits? Has the exchange rate gone way out that
trend changing, the stability that we've seen just at the end of the Q3?
I mean, George, from 5.73 to 5.77 is still within tolerable limits.
You don't think that we are getting back to the Q1 pressure? The trend is now going to see a sustained depreciation?
No, George, the statistics before me, if I look at the first quarter, I've seen that the exchange rate has appreciated by some 0.55% is what I see. Some market reforms have been put in place, especially the forward market. The forward market is changing the dynamics in the foreign exchange market.
And that was George Raff interacting there with the head of research at the Bank of Ghana. Now, the Advertising Association of Ghana is collaborating with key stakeholders to remove all billboards at unauthorized locations in Accra to ensure sanity and safety for consumers. According to its Executive Director, Francis Datsi, this is part of a new campaign to make Accra work again. He made these comments at a press conference.
Cranes and everything are ready to move in 2 weeks' time to get those boards down. So we need to move a step further. And what we did was to go around the city to look at the challenges that the indiscriminate mounting of these billboards and signages are posing to our cities expected. So we went round. But before that, we want you also to educate the party that there is a law. I repeat, there is a law. And the law is LI, Road Traffic Regulation 2012, LI 2180. And the law says that Section 185, subsection 1 and 2, a person shall not, without lawful authority or reasonable excuse, cause a thing to be on or over a road or pedestrian walkway to interfere with the safe and free movement of a motor vehicle, trailer, motorcycle, or likely to cause injury to pedestrians, road users, and damage property.
And definitely we shall see how the removal of these unauthorized billboard goes across the regional capital of Accra. That's how we end the marketplace. My name is Charles AYITEY. For more news, do log on to myjawline.com/business. Many thanks once again. Enjoy the rest of our programs.